Hello, my name is Navigator, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at another piece of Fallout lore mixed with real-world history. If you guys haven't seen some of my other videos on this, I did the history of the monorail. What else did I do? Ooh, the Native American history in West Virginia. And today's video is going to be very similar to that. I'm going to be talking about the story of some parts here in West Virginia, but mostly about a story in real life. So I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Let's get into this. Today I'm going to be talking about the Battle of Mount Blair. So, if you guys watch Oxhorn, what he did for his Fallout 76 series, at least for I want to say half the videos, is he made a song. He made a cover. That's the word I was looking for the other day. Cover. A cover of a song called "Whose Side Are You On?" Now I can't I think it's Pete Seeger and his group or whatever originally sang it, but it's a kind of catchy song. And I was watching some videos of his, and I was like, I should look that up. I looked it up, and I ended up going down this rabbit hole of where the whole kind of song originated from, and I saw some meme, and it was miners facing off against the government during the Battle of Mount Blair. And I'm like, what? And it's got this song playing. I'm like, wait, but Mount Blair is in Fallout 76. So I looked this up, and holy shit, you guys would not believe this story. Okay, so before I get into this, really quickly, I want to say I am not the most accurate person telling this story. I'm just kind of reiterating what I have researched and learned to you guys. So I'll be leaving out a lot of details, might be stuttering a little bit, but please don't worry. Alright, so this all takes place in West Virginia, obviously. Alright, so if you guys watch my Monongah Mine video as well, you'll know that the Monongah Mine disaster was in 1907. So this, I forget, it was either 13 years after or 13 years before that. I believe it was 13 years before, so this might have been the very late 1800s, going into the 20th century. All right, that's enough background. Okay. Obviously, back then, jobs were kind of hard to come by, and if you did have one, they were usually, pretty work excessive. One of those being the job of a miner. And if you guys hear in fucking high school and in college, all that stuff, going down to the mine, black lung, you guys know it was an absolutely terrible job. I mean, if you guys watch the Monongah Mine video, again, you'll know that on top of, getting black lung, inhaling all these dangerous chemicals and all these dangerous minerals and stuff, if you drop a single lamp, if there's a single spark, that whole mine could go poof, and that's every single person there dead. So it was a very, very dangerous job. And a lot of the miners back then were very unhappy with the working conditions, with the wages they were being paid, and that kind of brings us into the Battle of Blair Mountain. So what happened was, I keep saying this, but this again relates to the Monongah Mine video, because with Monongah Mine, what happens is Hornwright goes in there, they extract all of the coal, and then they're like, okay, we're done here, and they lay off all the workers. I mean, at that point, they were working with robots, but previous to that, they had already laid off the workers. In relation to the real world timeline, what was going on is these companies would go into these mines, extract all the coal, and to, I guess, subsidize their profits and everything, they would lay off the workers that they weren't using. But those workers were still contracted under the mining company. The way that worked is, you kind of almost sign your soul over. It's like an indentured servitude. You sign a paper, and they provide you with, the tools, the clothes, the equipment, which you actually have to pay back, and then the little prices gets taken out of your wages because of that equipment, and you're living on company provided housing and land, and you're going to the company store. If you guys hear that song in 76, I owe my soul to the company store, that's very, very true. What basically happened was, it's like these little kind of Hoovervilles, like Companyvilles, that are basically just the workers and the families of the people working in the mines lived here. There was usually one store called the company store, and they could price whatever they wanted. I mean, the company was making the prices, either that or the business owner, and they could make the prices whatever they want, even if it wasn't comparable to the wages of the mine workers. So all this anger really starts building up. A quick side note, and I want to say I was thinking about making another video on this, and I actually might, but the term script, in reference to legendary script, actually comes from these mining towns, these company stores. What happened was, sometimes these mining companies wouldn't pay their workers in cash; they would pay them in scrip, which were basically just like these, it was almost like money, almost like tokens, that kind of thing. But it was basically like how can I say, like a card that said like, okay, that's worth this much or blah blah blah. And I guess that was probably the mining company's way of saving their own money. But yeah, so just a little fun fact. That's where the term scrip comes from. Anyways, all of these miners are really fucking pissed off. They're really ugly. Quick, let me just give you guys a different change of view here. Oh, that's a beautiful view, actually. So these miners are really, really pissed off, and what ends up happening is they can't afford the stuff at the company store. They can't afford, to pay back the stuff in their house. They can't afford to pay back their equipment. What they end up doing is they end up starting these actual shanty towns just a couple miles away from the mines, hunting and foraging for food, because they just don't have enough money. And at this time, the union comes in and they're like, hey, maybe you guys should think about starting a union, but a lot of them were skeptical. A quick side note, a lot of immigrants came to work in the mines, and the immigrants, along with the African American community, felt that they were better off, working the job they already had, as opposed to either getting fired, getting beaten, getting in trouble for joining a union, something like that. So just a little side note. So the union comes in. The union is trying to convince these mining guys to start a union and kind of fight back against the conditions, against all the unfairness. Well, the mining companies actually get what do you call it? They actually get involved in all this, and they're like, hey, we can't be having that union stuff happen, blah, blah, blah. And there's just a lot of contention going back and forth. Eventually, it all kind of culminates with these Pinkerton agents who were almost like enforcing the mining company's will, and they were just kind of these assholes coming around like, hey, you can't do this, hey, you gotta do this. Eventually, a skirmish breaks out. I kind of forget the details a little bit, but the Pinkerton agents actually end up dying along with the head of them, and that was the first big win for the miners because it was kind of like the bully that had been pushing them into the ground. They finally took care of that. Okay, I know I keep doing side notes and side notes, but this brings us into a perfect point. So the head of the Pinkerton Detective Agency kind of had this beef with a local sheriff. I forget the guy's first name, but his last name was Hatfield. And if that name rings a bell, you guys will know of the Hatfield and McCoy feud. This feud took place on the West Virginia-Kentucky border. It was mostly in Kentucky, but it still did take place in parts of West Virginia. And it's kind of a nice, keep that in mind. I'm going to come back to it later. Okay, anyways, without any more details, what ends up happening with the Battle of Mount Blair is the miners get really fucking pissed. They're 10,000 strong, just about, and they're like, what we're going to do? We're going to march to Mount Blair, where all of these, the mining company, all of the mining executives, everything's holed up. We're going to go there. We're going to protest. We're going to fight. We're going to do all that. The mining companies and the governor of West Virginia, local sheriffs, local mayors, stuff like that, they start freaking the fuck out because they're in cahoots with these companies. They don't want this union going on. They don't want A, they don't want a union. B, they don't want all these men coming and telling them what to do and stealing their money. Well, not stealing it, but taking their money rightfully. And 3, they don't want all this bloodshed. So, all of these miners are marching north, which is the direction I'm facing right now. So if you're looking at the map, all the way that way. Let me just double check. Wait. Okay, that's the south. Okay, so that is the north. Imagine all of these miners are marching north. They're marching south, coming all the way here to the top of Blair Mountain, which is where I'm standing right now. And this is a big mountain. It took me a couple, I want to say a minute or two to actually get up here, even with my jetpack and marsupial. This is a big mountain. So what ended up happening is right here where this excavator is, the U.S. government, along with, deputies and marshals and, Pinkerton agents, anybody who is associated with the government or these mining companies, honestly, even local mayors and the governor conscripted farmers and random, union strikebreakers and stuff to just take up arms and help them out. So they ended up digging all of these tunnels all along. And again, you can honestly see there's a lot of trenches and stuff here, but they dug all these trenches, put up all these munitions, defenses here for all of these miners to show up. And what ended up happening is all these miners show up, and the leaders from the union who were talking to the brigadier general of the U.S. military, the military and the union guys decided that it would be best to avoid bloodshed and try to calm all these guys down. It's kind of funny that the brigadier general of the U.S. military, a guy who is most embedded in warfare, probably the most important person regarding warfare in the United States, was one of the only people in this situation who wanted to avoid bloodshed. Everybody else was kind of like, yeah, let's go get them. Oh, they're not going to do this, blah, blah, blah. He was the only person that really wanted to avoid violence, aside from, obviously, the families of the union workers and the union themselves. So this all culminates. They come to the top of Blair Mountain here. and the union guys come and they end up convincing probably 95% of the 10,000 union workers to just go home. It would probably be a better decision to, stay alive than die out here. Before this, though, the governor of West Virginia ended up commandeering, in a legal manner, 3 biplanes, which he actually dropped bombs on these miners with. Fortunately enough, the planes missed, but still, that's crazy. And after the fact, one of the miners who was actually leading this, Bill Blizzard, he was arrested for all this bullshit. He brought one of these unactivated bombs to court to use and say, hey, you're telling me that I'm going to jail for being part of a union. The fucking U.S. government dropped bombs on us. And he literally showed an undefused or unexploded bomb in court. Just absolutely crazy. So anyways, they come here. A lot of them get sent home. What ends up happening is, 500 are left over. They're kind of disgruntled, kind of angry. There's some skirmishes that break out. Nothing too much, though. And at the end of the day, there wasn't really any huge, bloody battle. Although about 100 people did end up dying, give or take on either side. And that's over the course of this entire conflict. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to cover my tracks here. Let me look up. I already have it pulled up here. It shouldn't be too long. I'm just going to get the dates right. Okay. The Battle of Mount Blair, August 25th, 1921 to September 2nd, 1921. Okay, so this is set after the disaster of Monongah Mine. So that's honestly even more important. I mean, it's just, it's funny that 13 years earlier to this, there were already terrible mining conditions, and now it's still a problem, after that. It's just so crazy. So this only lasted for about a month, and it only really lasted in West Virginia, but it's just crazy to think that there were these miners who really fucking hated what was going on. They hated the jobs they were working, they hated the wages they were getting, they hated everything about it. They were not being treated fairly, and it's a good kind of heartwarming, courageous story of people, taking up arms and fighting for what's theirs, and it's something that, speaks very truly to a lot of stuff we see today with, the Black Lives Matter movement, with a lot of, social progression and stuff like that. It is good to see a story like this from history, to show that, the government can't always control us. Now, I'm not trying to do some Ted Kaczynski shit, but it is nice and reassuring to learn of stories like this so that you know that you need to stand up for yourself sometimes. Okay, the last part I want to talk about with this goes back to the Hatfield thing, and that is going to be the deal between the Garahans and the Hornwrights in Fallout 76. Now, I didn't really do a ton of research on this. I obviously played all these missions and everything, but I haven't really brushed up on it. What I want to say is the Garahan and Hornwright feud, obviously, well, not obviously, but I can't even remember who was the good person, who was the bad person, but the Garahan and Hornwright feud, it very closely resembles A, the Battle of Blair Mountain, and B, the Hatfield and McCoy feud, where it's kind of the, I believe, out of the Hatfields and McCoys, one of them was a bigger, more affluent family, and the other one was kind of just like a country, blah, blah, blah. And that's kind of the same thing with this. It was one of them was the robot workers, I believe it was the Hornwrights, maybe. No, the Garahans had the Hornwrights had the auto workers laying off jobs and stuff like that, and the Garahans were the ones who were creating this excavator here, this massive excavator, which I believe could actually produce more than the auto miners could, and it was powered by humans. Eventually, there was some feud between this thing got sabotaged, but it is very similar, again, to the government versus the miners, kind of like the good versus evil, and then the Hatfields and McCoys. It all kind of comes full circle. It's really fun here. A lot of cool lore, a lot of cool history. So yeah, there you have it, folks. That's my kind of interpretation of the Battle of Mount Blair and how it relates to Fallout 76. It's a really cool story. The video that I watched to kind of help me get brushed up on this, I'm going to leave in the description. If you're interested more about the Battle of Mount Blair, about this subject, please check out that video. It's a 2-part series, very easy to watch, and I think you guys will enjoy it very much. So, I'm sorry if it wasn't really, too great visually today, but I hope that the information, my voice at least, was pretty entertaining. I want to make more videos like this. I know that there's so much more history out there. History, again, I know I've said this before, is a huge passion of mine, and I put so much time into this game, I might as well, mesh them together. There's so much history with this. It's just, I love this game, and thank you guys so much for watching. So, that's all I have for you guys in this video. My name is Navigator. Have a nice day. Take care.